I got this in my inbox last night, a message from my daughter's school in regard to all the COVID, the ongoing COVID changes that are happening and what they're doing at my daughter's school, which of course my daughter's not at school right now. She's on Zoom school, but anyway, I wanted to read this to you because I felt like I don't know who this quote is by. It might be by Rudolf Steiner, but it might not be. It was just called A Verse, and I asked the principal at Waldorf School to send me the author, but she hasn't gotten back to me. So here we are. One of the things before I read it, one of the things I want to just say is that the word "must" comes into this a lot, and I think I don't usually like to use the word must, like you must do this, because it feels very authoritarian and it gets it makes me prickly at times. So maybe it does for you too. But I think in regard to the imperative, this is an imperative. And I think the word must is used often very deliberately because what I'm about to say is kind of thought of as an imperative of what we need for our times, with the ongoing realms of uncertainty that we're all living within. It's just necessary sometimes to have the kind of will that these words speak of. So here we go. We must eradicate from the soul all fear and terror of what comes toward us out of the future. We must acquire serenity in all feelings and sensibilities concerning the future. We must look forward with absolute equanimity to all that may come, and we must think only that whatever comes is given to us by a world direction full of wisdom. It is a part of what we must learn in this age, namely to live out of pure trust without any security in existence. Trust in the ever-present help of the spiritual world. Truly nothing else will do if our courage is not to fail us. Let us discipline our will and let us seek the awakening from within ourselves. So close your eyes. And can you feel the imperative of the words that it's a call to action within us, that to muster courage and will to face what comes with equanimity, trust, hope, faith. So when you feel a sense of imperative within you, what happens to your heart space? What happens to your sense of courage and will? Can you foster this within you? So let's drop into the body, our deepest friend, the body, where all things live in this moment. See what you can do to find some ease. Rest within yourself. Discover your breath, let it wash through you like a healing balm of ease. Can you soften through your face? Let go of tension patterns that might be your habit or maybe just in this moment. Relax. Now feel the breath traveling a little deeper. See if you can sense into the belly breath, the pelvic breath. If we are to cultivate what was just spoken in that verse, we need to be embodied for this kind of hope, and courage, so that your practice be a gift toward this end. Ground yourself in your seat. Can you feel the sense of your sit bones, the deep energy of your pelvis? Drop your breath in there. And when you're ready, place your hands together at your heart. And let's bow. Bow into yourself. Offer an intention. What do you need today? And then let's release the hands and come onto your mat. Okay. So find yourself feeling into what it feels like to be horizontal. Maybe you've been up for many, many hours. Maybe you've been up for just a short while. So just feel into what's here. So stretch your body long. Get excited for your practice. Isn't it great to do yoga? So, you can modify everything to tailor to what this moment needs for you. All right, so stretch the arms overhead, reach the left side, reach the right side, come into the awakening of the body. All right, and then bring the knees into the chest and let's rock a little bit, swaying from side to side. All right, let's circle the knees. Circle one direction 2 or 3 times. Try not to do this mindlessly, but do it mindfully. What are you feeling across your sacrum? What's the texture, the density of the floor below you? Do you have softness, hardness? What does it feel like? And then let's open the knees away from each other and bring them back in toward each other. Just feeling the hip joints start to free themselves up a little bit. All right, and then right knee into the chest, left leg long on the floor, and let's move your ankles around. So wake up your feet. Feel that sense of wiggle through your toes, move the bones in your feet, your ankles in any way that kind of helps you open and awaken your awareness. And then switch sides. Good squeeze with the left knee. Feel the compression in the hip and the knee, long spine, and wiggle those toes around again. Just feel into the movement. How is your breath? Our breath is our guide. It's our friend. See if you can stay present for it and with it through your practice. And then let's open up to a starfish. Stretch your limbs wide. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Feel the edges, the tips of your body. And then when you're ready, knees into the chest. Head comes up. Give yourself a little squeeze. A couple of more times. Feeling that full movement of expansion. And then the full movement of condensement. On this last one, let's hold it for a moment. Stretch your limbs out. Take a deep breath in and hold your breath and squeeze all your muscles that you can. Just wake everything up. Wake up all your muscles. And then release the breath. All everything comes in now. Take another breath while you're here. And on the exhale, squeeze your exhale, hold the exhale, and squeeze your muscles. Everything you can find. And then relax your head down. Put your feet down onto the ground. And just feel your body rest on the floor. Let's windshield wiper the knees just a little bit, just waking up some rotation in the spine. Okay, so you can move your knees fast or slow. You can join with your upper body, stretching your arm away from your knees or turning your head, just kind of getting some gentle movement in the body. All right, and then eventually rolling over onto your right side and coming up onto your hands and your knees. All right, so all fours. Before you start moving in cat-cows, feel your yielding. Ground into the earth. And start to move through the spine. The tailbone lifts, the head lifts, and then the tailbone drops and the head drops. See if you can feel each vertebrae. Get to know your spine. How are you today? Or do you have any pain in your back anywhere that you need to nourish or care for in any specific way? Be very mindful as you move your body. All right, so let's move your spine around any way you want to move your spine around. You can swirl through your hips. You can move and swag your tail side to side, move your shoulders around, move your neck, your head. Feel free to bend into elbows or bend deeply into hips. So just experiment with getting to know your body, getting to know your breath. All right, and then for the first child's pose, curl your toes under, touch your big toe mounds and your heels, and then go ahead and stretch back a little bit towards child's pose. So of course you may not go into a full posture depending on your feet, but just stretch open the bottom of your feet. Find your breath. And then come back up onto all fours and smack the tops of your feet, if it's comfortable, on your mat. And then stretch back towards child's pose. And when you come into child's pose, typically an anterior tilt to the pelvis is a nice neutral place for your low back. But experiment, what feels good in your body as far as the tip of the pelvis, the wideness or closeness of your knees, where you place your arms. There's a lot of subtleties to child's pose. So just sense what feels good for you today. Relax your forehead onto the ground or close to the ground. Finding the breath. Okay, walk the hands over to one side of your mat. And when I do this, I tend to lift my hips off my heels. It helps me to get a little deeper stretch through my side body, but maybe for you, staying down lower helps you. So just find little subtleties of what works in your body. Find your breath. Walk the hands over to the other side. Feel a sense of length. Open up the rib cage, all those beautiful muscles for breathing. All right, and then come back, coming onto all fours. All right, so one more time, a cat-cow or any kind of movement that you want. And curl the toes under and feel the deep length moving through your body. So as we come up into dog pose now, again, find what works for you. Where do you want your feet to land? Where do you want your hands to land as far as width apart? And then feel free to move your legs. So maybe you want to drop one heel all the way down and bend the opposite knee. Maybe you want to lift one hip a little higher and kind of skirt the other knee in past the midline. Just feel into what feels good in the body. As you discover and awaken, maybe you want to bounce, maybe you want to pedal quickly with your heels. Just find what works. Once you get settled in the physicality of the posture, come into the energetics of it. Relax your head, feel the inversion. Discover that sense that the brain can rest in this posture. Notice all the space you have to breathe with. Try not to collapse anywhere. Are you integrated? Are you yielding? And then walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Bend your knees as much as you want to bend your knees. There's no rules. Sway your hips if you want to. There's only principles. So, the principle is to let the spine have space and to let the sacrum and the spine move in the same direction. So lift the sit bones and the tail and let them follow. Let the spine follow. See if you can feel that waterfall. Inhale for a halfway lift. Your hands can come on the floor or on blocks or on your legs. Feel the sit bones lift high, the thigh bones move back, the knees start to straighten a little bit more. Keep the neck neutral. And exhale and melt and fold again. Push off your feet, rise up, reaching the arms up to the sky, up, 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 open the chest. Feel that big spreading out of the heart. Okay, cactus your arms And then release and shake out your hands. So here we are standing. Find the ground. Come into your yielding. See if you can feel that essence of Tadasana being a stable place for you. The stoutness of the courageous heart, the firmness of the ground supporting you. Just pause here for a moment and breathe. Soft knees. Let the breath travel to the pelvis. Try not to live high in the neck and shoulders, but drop lower in the body. All right, take a deep breath in. Open through your chest, lean back a little bit if it feels nice. Maybe a cactus arm, maybe just a big swoop down with your arms. We're gonna do this a few times. You can bend your knees as you go. Arms up, big circles. Down, one more time. Once more. Arms up, big circles or cactuses, bend the knees. And then come back to stand. Take your feet at least hip width apart, perhaps wider. This is all just personal preference, and we're just gonna move through the thoracic spine. We're gonna do some twisting today, a little bit. So we wanna just get a sense of how is your back today. So open up through the thoracic spine, let your pelvis follow. So we're not trying to torque on a stable pelvis. We wanna let the pelvis follow. And notice, dole this out just right for your back. And sometimes it's helpful to bend the knees as you go. You can kind of find your way into any type of movement that's really wonderful for your body here. All right, and then pause. All right, are you kind of here? Are you awake? All present and, accounted for? See if you can sense into the ground below you. Feel that's quality of yielding. Feel the breath traveling low. Can you have that sense of what is yielding? This grounding into the earth, we give way, but there's also a rebound that gives us strength and fortitude in our being. How are we ever supposed to have courage to face what's here in any day that a challenge arises if we're not grounded, if we're not connected? So find these sensations in your body. All right, let's move. Take a deep breath in, arms up, and then exhale. Bend your knees and float forward. Inhale for a halfway lift. The spine is growing. Exhale and melt back down. Step your right foot forward and your left foot back and find a lunge. Enjoy the opening of your hip flexors. Feel the deep reach of your spine. Okay, let's start to move. Opening up the hamstrings a little bit, straightening the leg and bending the knee. Just kind of coming into some space, opening up the hamstrings, opening up the hip flexors, opening up the breath. Let's ground down, root to rise. So find the roots first. And then when you rise up, arms go anywhere you want. Maybe today your arms aren't overhead. Maybe your hands need to be a little lower today. So just find whatever's right for your body. Open the breath. Feel into that open heart. Can you feel that an open heart doesn't mean a compressed back heart? Find the openness across your whole torso. All right, gentle twist here. So we're going to the side only to a place where your core can support you. Your hands can stay on your hips. So this does not have to be a big movement. Stay in your lunge, hug to the midline. And then rise back up. Place the hands down onto the ground. Back foot comes forward. Fold in half. Knees bent, soften the skull. Halfway lift. And exhale and melt again. Step your other foot back. Let's warm up this leg. So coming into a lunge on this side and start to move your body as you're ready. You can bend and straighten the front knee as you begin. Notice what your chin wants to do. Do you want to tuck? Do you want to reach your heart forward? Just find what's right. Get special care. Make sure that you're not just overly rounding your spine as you go through the paces of these movements. That's why I always have my hands on blocks to do this. So I'm a little bit higher. All right, come into a lunge, yield, ground yourself down, and then rise up. Okay, so find whatever movement of the arms feels right. Can you feel the open chest? A little bit of a thoracic back bend without pinching. So we don't want to squeeze the shoulder blades into a track. We want to have some spaciousness as we open the chest, side chest, back chest, upper chest, bottom chest. Feel as much space as you can get. All right, and then as you're ready, we're twisting to the side. Your hands can stay on your hips. Your hands can be out to the side, whatever feels right. Find the midline. So hug in. Your back knee can bend a little bit if you need some more stability through your pelvis. Feel the reach of your spine. All right, come back. Arms come high or not. Hands down, dog pose. Stretch that other leg back. Feel the evenness. Where do you want your feet? Do you want them wide apart today or a little closer? What's going to give you best sense of stability and breath? All right, let's come forward into a plank. Hold yourself steady, integrate. When we have poses that require a lot of core strength, sometimes it's difficult to learn how to breathe while using our core. So stay in the rhythm. Your ribs will expand outward to the sides a little bit more and feel the breath travel into that bottom rib cage. All right, you can put your knees down if you need to. Find the floor. Roll the shoulders. Just feel into those upper traps. Let them release. And then when you're ready, Cobra Pose. Chest all open and broad, collarbones wide. Exhale and to come back down. Try not to lose sight of your core here. Engage. Rise up. And then exhale and lower back down. Third time, lifting up. Feel into the open heart. Exhale and drop back down. Come up onto all fours. Swish the spine around. Find any movement that feels really good. Breathing well. Inhale, reach the arm up to the sky. Exhale and slide that shoulder down, finding a twist. Shoulders away from the ears. What's wonderful about this twist, I think, for my body anyway, is that my low back has less of a chance of being disrupted. It really stays in the thoracic spine well. So keep the femur bones moving back. Have spaciousness in the lumbar spine and enjoy the way the rib cage and the spine meet. Breathe there. All right, and then inhale. Reach that arm all the way back up. Place the hand down onto the ground and switch sides. Arm lifting. Slide that arm down. You can walk your knees further back. You can take your femur bones back. Try to find the posture that's right for your body. If you want more twisting, you can press a little weight into your hand to deepen the thoracic twist. If you want a little less twisting, face the ground. Put your forehead on the floor and try to teach the spine that less is more. And then inhale, reach that arm all the way up again. Place the hand down onto the ground. Wide-legged dog pose. So take your feet wide on the mat. Thigh bones move back. Maybe even a little internal rotation of your toes. And therefore a little internal rotation of your thighs. Breathe. Imagine you have a hand on your sacrum, stretching your sacrum away from your crown. All right, and then walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana again, knees as bent as you want them to be. Tip the pelvis, pour the pelvis forward, sit bones high. Then find a half lift, lengthen through your spine. And then come On down, rise up. Bring your heart open again. Let's step your right foot forward, your left foot back, a shorter stance here. Open things up, maybe the arms come to the sky, and then find your way forward. You can put your hands on blocks. Whenever you have weight, whenever you have your hands on your blocks, try not to be super weighted. So we're not falling, we're using the blocks, but more importantly, we're using the legs. Square the hips, reach that front right hip back, lengthen through your spine. And then bend your knee, come back up, reaching the left arm up in the air, find a little chest opener, open heart, and then extend forward and bring the hand on. Maybe you need two blocks, so it's okay to have one block underneath the other block if you need a little support. If your spine is a little aggravated today, a little extra height can be very helpful. Extend through the spine, twist open. Keep reaching that right hip back, but there's an inner spiral to the right thigh. Notice if you lock out your knees, soften so that you can yield. Spine is long. Reach the arm up if you want. Turn and look up if you want. You can always keep your hand on your hip and look down. Notice if your hip hikes out to the side, keep your hip in line with your foot. How is the breath? And then relax and melt down. Walk your back foot forward, fold, let your knees bend a lot. We're gonna come into chair pose, touch your toes, or stick a block between your thighs, or just have your feet hip width apart. You can have your arms back or your arms up. Decide what's best for your body. Deep breaths here. Ground into the heels. Feel the chest rise. Feel the chest fall. Exhale, lower your body down, arms back. We're gonna inhale, come up onto your tippy toes, practice a little bit of balance. Exhale, heels down, arms back. Twice more, arms up, tippy toes. Exhale, heels down, arms back. Once more. Coming up onto your toes, find a big breath. Chair pose as you finish. Find the breath. We're gonna step the right foot back, shorter stance. Open the chest, hands down on blocks. So notice where your spine might want to round. See if your tail's tucked under or your thoracic spine is hunched. See if you can instead lift the tail, widen the sit bones, integrate into the floor with your feet, soften your knees, pull that hip back, and then notice what the thoracic spine is doing now. Do you have a neutral curve in your lumbar spine and a nice long thoracic spine? How is the breath? All right, and then rise on up. Arms coming to the sky, and then place the left hand down on the left hip. Keep the right arm reaching. Reach forward. Maybe you want one block under the other block or just one block. See what's right for you. Notice if your hip hikes out to the side, integrates your hip and your knee and your foot are on one plane. Find your legs before you twist. Yield, inner spiral, soft knees, hip back, sit bones wide, and then start to discover the spine. Lengthen it, open it, and then twist it. Where do you want your arm? Where do you want your head? Just find what's right for you. Stay inside the breath. All right, let's release the hands down, back to dog pose. You go. Long spine, try taking your feet wide again. Turn your toes in a little bit. Notice the breath traveling to the pelvis. So let your practice continually be a practice of grounding, a practice of yielding. You know, if we're having currents, kind of themes that always run through our practice, no matter which poses we're doing, working with that sense of breath, working with the sense of stability, and working with yielding. These are really universal to any posture, that are the gifts of our practice of keeping us grounded. Let's come forward to a plank with our legs just like that. So open yourself up into a really wide plank. Hold yourself steady. Integrate. Find your breath. Now, as you engage your core, it's a little different when your legs are wider. Still find your core. And notice your breathing has to go out to the outer rib cage, to the, you kind of go expanding sideways instead of vertically, and enjoy that. All right, and then put your knees down if you want to find your way to the floor. Find your breath now. We're going to take our arms back behind us. Palms are facing the floor. Inhale and lift everything up and feel all the muscles of your spine working for the posture. Breathing well. All right, great. And then relax and melt. Come up onto all fours. Swish around in your spine. Any transitions that feel really nice to you. Maybe you like a child's pose, maybe you like cat-cow. Eventually, we're going to find our right leg lifting up in the air. Exhale, bring your knee right to the chest. Give a good squeeze. Yield your hands. Inhale, bring it back. And then let's bring it forward again. Come to a lunge. Rise up when you're ready. Take your time. Remember, sometimes we need to pause to feel our capacity to yield. Then we're going to turn and open up to the side. So if there's ever a pose that's built for the must of courage and the must of, facing with equanimity that which we need to face, Warrior Two is such a beautiful posture to give us this sense of capacity for strength and fortitude, developing the will without stubbornness. So let's find our way here. Maybe your arms need to be in a different place for today. Okay, so do what's right for your joint spaces. Ground into your legs. Feel that sense of rooting so that you can rise up through your spine. Is your pelvis in a happy place? Do you feel like you have a tug of war going on? Is this something you can settle into without collapse? Gaze out over your fingers. Notice your feet. Try to travel from your feet on upwards. So spread the four corners of each foot. Yield. Maybe spin a jar lid with that front foot, kind of spinning the toes out and the heel in. Relax the shoulders as you go up your body. So don't, as you go up, try not to lift the shoulders. Just travel with your awareness into your legs now. How's your back knee? Can you melt it? Are you in a good place in your pelvis? Do you need to turn it a little bit more toward your front leg? Is your spine over top your pelvis well? So if your pelvis is turned, try not to turn back with your arms. Let your shoulders follow your pelvis. Ground the whole body. Yield and rise. Yield and breathe. All right, let's straighten that leg. Turn to the second side. So we're just going to go back and forth a little bit. Now, perhaps you have a knee somewhere that's, on one side or the other that's a little tricky. So you can always, if you feel the need for support, if you have difficulty with self-supporting in a bent knee, you can put a block right below your kneecap with your shin against a piece of furniture or a wall. This doesn't take the work of the pose away, but it gives some closed chain feedback to your knee joint. So this is a great way to, if you skip standing poses because your knees don't like to bend well, this is a great way to find a weaker leg and hang out there for a little bit. So you don't want to push your knee into the block. Try to pull away from it. Just use enough support that's helpful for you. Grounding the feet, feeling the four corners of your feet. Rise that energy up through your legs. Move into your pelvis. Do you need to tip a little bit? Where's the direction of the angle of your pelvis most comfortable? Once you have that, arms go where your pelvis goes. So you do not need to turn your arms back to be on the line of the long edge of your mat if your pelvis is not there. Relax the shoulders down. Refine the yield to rise, the root to rise. Yield, push, and reach. All right, and then let's go ahead and find our way out. Turn your feet to the long edge. You can put your hands on high blocks, on walls, on furniture, on the floor. You can bring your arms out like dog pose arms, or you can put your hands directly underneath your shoulders. So find what's comfortable for you. Thigh bones back, but the shin bones move slightly forward, so you're not locking out the knee joints. Spread open the feet. Feel the wideness of your sit bones. Melt into the breath. All right, come back up. We're going to turn your feet to the front side, right side rather. Again, and Uttanasana, you can use a block to put underneath your hand on either the inner or outer edge of your shin. Okay. You can also put your elbow on your knee. So experiment with how you want to be in Uttanasana, and then stretch your arm overhead if it's comfortable. Maybe your shoulder needs your hand to be here or here. So find the ways that work for your body. So remember the pelvis. So we're not pushing the hip forward. We're taking the back thigh and rooting it into the back edge of the joint. Spin the pelvis toward the front leg as much as you need, but only as much as you need, so that you have a nice, easy feeling in your sacroiliac joints. Round through your feet. Push and reach. Yield, push, reach. How does your breath fit into this equation? Let it stream through you. You can do the same supportive thing with your knee, by the way, in this posture. So if you need a block against furniture or a wall, take it. Okay, and then let's rise up and turn your feet. Okay, so coming to the second side. So same idea with your knee. If you need support, have the block. And if you have very long feet, I have average feet for a woman, but if you have very long feet, you can turn the block this way so that you have enough room for your toes before the wall or whatever you're using. Okay, now the block can either be on the inside edge or the outside edge for your hand, or your elbow can be on your knee. You decide. Find your breath. Open yourself up. Maybe your arm comes overhead. Maybe your shoulder doesn't like that and you'd rather have a different vector of movement. So find what works for you. Breathing deeply. Root the feet. Can you feel that quality of yield? And then push through all four corners. And then reach. Find places that are tracked up. How do your shoulders feel? Is your core stabilizing you? Can you feel your rib cage expand? Is your breath traveling to your pelvis? Is your breath traveling to your feet? All right, and then when you're ready, come on up. Same posture as we did before. In between, hands can be on blocks, hands can be on the floor, arms can be forward like dog pose or underneath your shoulders. Find what works. Thigh bones back, knees are soft. Full breaths here. All right, and then we're gonna rise on up. Turn your toes out. And we're going to come into some goddess movements. So a lot of times when we squat, we lean forward, right? And this is normal. But for this posture, we want to be a little bit more upright. So always be mindful of your knees. So you want your knees to be on the same plane as your toes. So if your knees cave in like this and your feet are turned out, better to turn your feet in a little bit so that your knees and your feet are on the same plane. Support yourself, okay? Inhale, rise up, straight arms, straight legs. Exhale, goddess pose. Notice, we're going to do through a few passes of this. Do you lean to one side? This is a perfect place to practice finding the leg that's a little bit more, a little less stable. So if you have a knee that bothers you, lead there so you can learn. That's how much support I can take. I can use. That's where I go comfortably with that joint. Okay, so a few times. It's so easy for us to be to favor one leg or the other depending on our history of injuries and patterns. Okay, so lead with the non-dominant leg. Now let's stay. You can put your hands anywhere you want. So this pose can anything but leaning forward. So we're going to do a squat like that in a moment. But for right now, up you go. Spin the feet, toes turn back, heels forward, ground four corners. Root to rise. Yield, push, and reach. How's your breath? Open the chest. All right, and then rise all the way up. Find the breath, spin back to the front of your mat. Bring your 2 feet onto the ground, dog pose. And we're going to lift just the left leg up in the air. Exhale, knee to nose. Or knee to chest. Reach that leg up, place it on down. Decide whether you want wide legs or hip width legs for your next plank. You can always put your knees down. So if your shoulders need extra support, put your knees down. Eventually, we're going to find our way to the ground. Do any back bend you want, your favorite back bend. You know, it's important to sprinkle in your faves into your practice. That's what keeps us on our mats, right? We love yoga. So it's important to do the poses you don't like, to challenge yourself, kind of feel what's in there, why you don't like it, but it's also really important to find the postures that you love and do them consistently so that you love your practice. All right, let's go ahead and relax. Come back up onto all fours. Move the spine around. And then settle deeply into child's pose. So sit bones high and wide. Drop down in. Feel the compression in the hip joints. All right, come on up to dog pose. Feel into your feet. Notice how this pose feels now versus the very first dog pose you did today. Just notice how much you've come home to your body, to your breath. All right, walk your feet forward. Come on up to stand. So for your squat, you can take your legs beyond the mat, on the mat, turned out a little bit, straight. Find the support that's right for, you know what's comfortable, so find comfort. And then once again, if you have a knee that you favor and you kind of always lean into one leg, lead micro movements slow with the least dominant side. And even if you don't have an injury or a history of an injury on one side, you probably have a pattern of leaning weight into one leg more than the other. So we're micro movement down to our squat, slow and steady. Keep leading with your non-dominant leg. Once you get down there, elbows inside your knees, or a little more restful, elbow on your knees, and then find your feet. Breathe into the length of your spine, femur bones deep into the sockets, sit bones wide. Ground four corners. All right, and then we're going to come up, same micro movements. Push off your non-dominant leg as you come back up to rise. Starfish your body open. Breathing well. And then heel toe your feet into stand. Drop some weight into the right foot. And bring your left foot up. Now, tree pose can be done with your foot high. It can be done with your foot low. Your toes can still be on the floor. You can use support of holding a wall or a piece of furniture. So let the balance postures teach you that sense of equanimity despite the turbulence that's all around. It's okay if you move all over the place. Try to keep the equanimity of the mind and of the breath, regardless of how balanced or not balanced you are. Detach from the pose itself. Hold your attention to the breath and your state of ease. Yielding, rising. All right, let's go ahead and find the floor. Feel the two legs. Enjoy. Notice how nice it is to have 2 feet on the ground, how stable it is, how supportive it is. Okay, let's sink our weight into our left foot and bring the right foot. Now remember, you can hold furniture, you can have your toes. And sometimes I do this pose here with my toes on the floor. It's a very different sensation in the hips than when your leg is high. So there's different reasons to do poses different ways. So what do you need today? Do you want to practice more balance, or do you want to practice, the rotational feeling inside your pelvis, or your hip joint? So just sense into what you need today. And if you're very wobbly, if you're kind of all over the place, notice that too. See if you can have the steady mind, detach your ego from the posture. It does not matter whether you have good balance or not. It's the practice that really is where the rubber hits the road. Are you stable? Can you feel a sense of your knees softening? The hip is in. Find your breath. Relax the base of your skull and your neck and shoulders. All right, and then release. Find the rest, shake out your hands, enjoy your points of contact. Inhale up onto your tippy toes, arms come to the sky. Exhale, chair pose, arms back. One more time, tippy toes. Exhale, weight evenly. Notice it here. Are you a leaner? Do you like one leg more than the other? Befriend the weaker side. All right, then regular chair pose. The last of the standing poses. Give your weight. All right, and then rise up, open the chest, fold. Come down onto all fours. Move your spine around and find child's pose. So decide, knees wide, knees close, femur bones back, sit bones high. Come into rest. Feel the compression in your knees and in your hips. Let your quads relax. All right, come back onto all fours, and we're going to come into pigeon pose. So when you come into, or reverse pigeon pose, so you decide. When you find this posture, do you need support? So, a blanket or two underneath your hips, a block, maybe nothing. So you decide what feels right, what is your need. If you're on your back, make sure that your hips are equidistant to your shoulders, that you're not hiking one up. Whatever you're doing, can your head relax? Either the back of your skull on the floor or your forehead on your hands or a block. Equanimity in the face of challenge. Our practice it's just that, it's our practice. We get to practice this. Build some skill around facing challenges with a state of grace. And that's not to say that you can't have turbulence in your response to things that come your way. Of course you can. But how quickly can you return to a state of steadiness? It's okay to swing off your balance, but how quickly can you return to that state of equanimity? So do not berate yourself when you kind of freak out about something. This is just part of the process. Our work is to return to our breath, to our stable body, to our stable mind, to our grounding, to our breath, to our state of connection. These are the things that support us. Relax your neck and shoulders. All right, let's go ahead and find our way out of there and go to the second side. Okay, so two sides, as we know, are not the same. So find the props, the tools you need to be supported well in this next side. Regardless of whether you're on your back or your front, see what you can do to feel your head supported so that your neck and shoulders do not have to get the message that they always have to be working. Once you get into a comfortable way, can you yield? Can you reach a bit? Can you breathe? Can you discover ease wherever it lands? Let's find our way to come out of this pose. Come onto your back. I'm going to spend a couple of breaths here in this pose. So heart bench, you can have your block along your spine at one height, and then a block underneath your skull, either at the same height or one notch higher height. And if you're short, you might want the vertical block that's along your spine to turn horizontally in between your shoulder blades. Just experiment. I'm going to be here for a breath or two. Now imagine you have sandbags on your hips and your legs. So we did a lot with our legs, which is great, but just let them rest now. See if you can feel into deep weight. Your arms can go anywhere your arms want to be. You can interlace your elbows and stretch them overhead. Cactus them, straight arms out to the side, arms down at your sides, hands on your heart. There's so many choices. Take advantage of all the spaciousness to breathe. Imagine you have a weighted blanket on your legs. Equanimity, discover it inside your breath. Melt the back of your head. Feel an ease across your tongue and your jaw. Let the inner walls of your throat lose their restriction, come into space. Now you can ignore me if you are very content, but if you're ready to move into Shavasana, let's come off the blocks. And we're going to do a simple bringing the knees to the chest, rocking a little bit. Let your back relax. And then a simple twist to each side, or a happy baby pose, or any, maybe on your side quad stretch. Just kind of find whatever last little bit that your body needs to be comfortable in Shavasana. So it's different for different people. Some people like a twist right at the end. Some people like a happy baby pose. Your thighs worked hard, so you might want to be on your side and grab onto your foot for a little bit of a quad stretch. So just find what you need. Perhaps you're still in heart bench and that's what you need. And eventually taking your sweet time. This is the joy of doing yoga at home. You can turn off the computer right now and just keep going. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so your body gets to rest in the way that you want. So as you find Shavasana, maybe you'd like to have your legs up a wall or up on a couch, maybe a bolster, maybe you like being very flat. If you're at all cold, cover yourself. And we're going to find this deep state of ease in Shavasana. Scan your body and begin to melt your bones. The back of your head is heavy. Your limbs are heavy. The breath is easy. The belly is soft. Just allow yourself to melt. Let's begin to deepen our breathing again. Find that state of breath that's easy and full. Relax your body into the floor. Can you feel that sense of equanimity? Let's eventually find some movement to lift yourself. Let's come onto our side first and then come to sit. Once you have a comfortable posture, just close your eyes and breathe. And I'm going to read this one more time to you. We must eradicate from the soul all fear and terror of what comes toward us out of the future. We must acquire serenity in all feelings and sensibilities concerning the future. We must look forward with absolute equanimity to all that may come, and we must think only that whatever comes is given to us by a world direction full of wisdom. It is part of what we must learn in this age, namely, to live out a pure trust without any security in existence. Trust in the ever-present help of the spiritual world. Truly, nothing else will do if our courage is not to fail us. Let us discipline our will and let us seek the awakening from within ourselves. So place your hands together and offer your courage and your strength outward. Send your love all around the world or to anyone in particular. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a blessed day.